Es kursieren Gerüchte über
Hab
euch.
hier in letzter Zeit ein paar
Schlechte
üble
Kunde aus
Gestalten
der
durchkommen
Marscherung.
sehen. Dachte, ich hätte solche Leute hinter mir
Die
gelassen,
Leute sagen,
als ich Martha
Himmelsrand
den
sei
Rücken
einer der
kehrte.
gefährlichen. Auf Tamriel. Ich glaube, da irren sie sich. Es ist großartig und ich bin stolz, es meine Heimat nennen zu dürfen.
Wenn ihr ein Zimmer sucht, solltet ihr im Vier Schilde fragen. Ihr seht aus, als hättet ihr so manches Abenteuer erlebt.
Ich will euch keinen Ärger machen. Lasst mich einfach in Frieden.
Seid ihr ein Soldat? Eines Tages werde ich auch ein Soldat sein.
Ja? Ja?
Ja?
Ihr braucht etwas? Ja?
Ich war nie eine Söldnerin und habe meine...
Ihr solltet eure Blöße bedecken.
Greetings, traveler. My name is Gerard. What brings you here to this remote outpost? Yes, that's the second most common reason people make the hike up this mountain. The most common being to get away from something. For me, that meant 3 somethings. 3 wives, to be exact. 3 of the angriest, meanest witches you'll ever have the displeasure of knowing.
Ja, ihr habt es vielleicht gehört. Also ich hatte jetzt wahrscheinlich die letzten 5, 7 Minuten. Ich habe doch keine Ahnung. Kein Ton. Ja. Your wife sounds like a problem. I could make them disappear.
You're scaring me, stranger. I dislike my former spouses and pray to the divines every night they die a painful, horrible death. But I want nothing to do with it. I'm not one for violence.
Hast du aber eine Waffe auf dem Rücken. You seem to have difficulties with marriage.
You're half right. I was always great at getting married, but staying married was another issue altogether. I don't know why either. I'm a docile man. Never raised my voice. Never unfaithful to any of them. Just unlucky in love, I guess. I don't know if you have a spouse, but if you ever want to know what married life is like, it's pretty easy to replicate. Fill a bucket with spiders, place it on your head, and then bang it all night with a spoon. Now, if you want the gory details, I can give you those too. Maybe passing on some frightening tales will scare you off making your own prison vows.
Tell me about your first wife.
I had been exploring a dwarven ruin, working my way through a long passageway that led to a balcony overlooking a deep pit. She came bursting through from the opposite balcony, a red-guard mage, blue robes. For an instant, our eyes met. Our wordless stare saying what we both already knew. The treasure lied somewhere at the bottom, about the same distance from both of us. It was an old-fashioned foot race.
What happened next?
I must have stared a little too long, because before I knew it, she'd made it halfway down the walkway. But while she was fast, I was faster, and a better fighter. I sped down to the ground floor, storming through armies of dwarven spiders. At last I reached the great hall, where the treasure awaited, sitting on a platform of smooth stone. Only when I reached out to open it, I found my hand frozen in place.
A Manner of Sorcery was it. Ich finde es jedes Mal beschissen, dass hier die Zeit weitergeht, ja auch während Gespräche geführt werden, ne? What manner of sorcery was it?
I take it you're not too familiar with magic then. Or at least that particular spell. I was surprised. Turns out the mage was skilled in alteration. She let me get ahead of her so I could clear the ruins. And when I was but a hair's breadth away from my prize, she made her move. I stood there helpless as she walked right past me and opened the chest. After taking a peek inside, to my surprise, she closed it. It turns out she was less interested in the contents of the chest as she was in what lay under my curious.
You bid it to her.
We spent the next 6 nights together and got married on the 7th. Funny thing is, the first thing she ever said to me was, I do. If only it were the last thing she ever said too. You know, I never did find out what was in that treasure chest.
Ja, oh du Scheiße, der hat so viele Frauen da. What happened with the second wife?
My second wife was a good woman, but a terrible cook. Put condiments on everything. Pickled sauces from Cyrodiil, mustards and mayonnaise from High Rock, always with the Breton mayonnaise, on salads, meats, and cakes. If you've ever had it, it's the disgusting slime made from egg yolk, lemon juice, and oil of the olive. She even thought it made an adequate substitute for sunshine sauce. I've never tasted a worse souffle in all my years. The one thing it does go well with is bread. And of course she never bothered to use it as a spread.
So what did you do?
I swallowed that garbage for 3 years, but never complained. I hate confrontations almost as much as I hate violence. What I did is stop showing up for meals. She thought I was cheating on her. I was, but not with another woman. It was with another cook.
Okay. Yeah. I met a dark elf named Gilsey who mentioned to go out. Are you him?
I don't know this Gilsey. She must be thinking of someone else. The name isn't exactly my personal property. A friend of mine once told me you can't swing a dead skeever without hitting 3 of her namesakes. The same's true for me.
Funny. A high elf named Eldarine said as much. Gilsey mentioned her too. Gilsey said you were a powerful alteration mage. Nein, funny.
There you have it. The friend I was speaking of was another Redguard. I would give you her name, but you'd probably link it to someone else you've met on your travels.
Gilsey said you were a powerful alteration mage.
Now I know you're talking about someone else. Do I look like a mage to you? I've been hunting and fishing in these parts for years.
True. The local hunter seems to have accepted you in their faction.
There you go. I'm not this person you think I am. Just a simple hunter whose poaching isn't hurting anyone.
Surely you learned something by their third wife.
Well, if nothing else, I tried something different. The first wife wasn't much of a talker, and the second wife was a bad cook. So the third was a chef with a knack for speech, and could talk the wheels off of a carriage if you let her get started. Only most of the time she didn't talk. She nagged. I'd come home from a long day and she'd have a list of chores for me to do. Which was fine, except she wanted them all done at once.
What do you mean?
She wanted me to wipe the counter as I set the table, sweep the floor while I burned the trash. I told her I only had but 2 hands. No chance in winning that argument. That woman could talk the fur off one of you Khajiit. So instead of coming home to a list of chores and an ornery wife, I stopped coming home.
Okay, er hat's betrogen auch. Is this story don't explain how the marriage ended?
Alright. I guess I wasn't being entirely truthful when I said I was never unfaithful. I mean, yes, I never betted a woman who wasn't my wife. It's just that I was married to all 3 at the same time. And when they found out, well, let's just say having 3 pregnant ladies wanting you dead tends to build up a bit of animosity on both sides.
Yeah. Well, only 3 of the 4 people in this story have a right to be angry. What's done is done. Best to talk it out like adults. You're despicable. Bravo, sir. You are a credit to your ways. Könnten so sein, aber wir sagen einfach mal, also 3 von denen haben das Recht, böse zu sein.
But I haven't told you it. The whole story. Those 3 angry wives of mine hired bandits to kill me, with the very gold I paid to sustain them. In fact, they continue to insist on taking all my hard-earned gold and pooling it into a fund to hire more and better trained sales swords. So, if you think about it, I'm literally working myself to death.
Yeah. Have you managed to evade these mercenaries?
My secret is simple. It's a lot easier to evade a dead man than a live one. And I've killed every sellsword those harpies have sent after me. Truth is, I don't live in this remote outpost to run from my pursuers. I do it to trap them. The cliffs provide an excellent vantage point. The terrain is mostly uphill, and there's plenty of cover to hide and ambush a group of mercs.
And here I was about to question your manhood. Glad we avoided it. So you get your coin back from the Sehenswerte Circle of Life. You must be a formidable warrior as well as a hunter. So you get your coin back from the Sehenswerte Circle of Life.
Not exactly. My wives aren't fools. They pay some in advance, but the full bounty isn't paid until my head is stuffed and mounted on their door. Yeah, did I forget to mention that they're all living together now? Bunking together like a nest of hag ravens?
Tja, das ist wohl für dich nicht so ganz gut. You deploy violence. An outstand to take for a hunter.
Well, I can't be the first mortal in the history of Skyrim to hate his job. Can't imagine milkmaids and lumberjacks go home every night thanking Julianos for depriving them of brains. Luckily, someone invented traps and things to take out most of the dirty work, and liquor to forget the rest. Still don't like it, though. If you think about it, the butcher's stall is really an animal graveyard. But all the bodies have been cleaned up. It's a hunter's job to skin. A butcher's job to chop. Make everything nice and tidy so it's easy to swallow.
Where do you think that is?
That's how the divines made us. It doesn't matter if it's an animal or a person. If you see something being chopped up with all the guts and blood, it's going to make you cringe.
Huch. I detest such contrivances. Hiding the truth only makes it soft. But just divide meat into parts because it's practical, not to hide its original. If the divines wanted me to be peaceful, they wouldn't have given me fists. Some people find violence enthralling. You're talking to one of those people. Well said. At times, violence may be a necessary evil, but evil it is.
There's going to come a time when it's not even necessary. At least the kind of violence you see in wars. It'll happen one long night, when some great power sweeps over the land like the return of a vengeful god. It happened for Tiber Septim, and it could very well happen again. Then we'll have peace, because warriors will have nothing left to conquer.
How's the fur trade going?
Good. Real good. Ever since the Great War, the Nordfolk have been dumping their septums and going back to the old ways. See, if the Empire crumbles, most people figure the old coins might not be worth the rag I used to wipe my bottom. In the days of Nordic kings, furs were the most common currency, and they might be again. The fact that Morrowind's a mess also helps. Elves make for poor hunters. You kill a beast with magic, you're likely to damage its pelt. Even some Nords don't know how to properly trap and skin an animal while preserving its hide.
Why do you think that is?
All that violent blood coursing through their bodies makes them sloppy. A lot of them can't see hunting as an art.
So?
I can't complain though. It just means they'll have to go to the market to buy their furs instead.
Not all magic would damage the pelt. Calm paralyzes spells, for instance. Gold could still be melted down and used for other purposes. And you will supply the market. John, oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't listening. You must have been boring me. Not all magic would damage the pelt. Calm paralyzes spells, for instance.
True. That kind of magic isn't so different than using baiting and trapping. The idea is to cause as little harm to the creature as possible. Them dark elves, though, they aren't the type to use such delicate spells. They're more likely to hand you a pelt with half its fur burnt off and the other half frozen solid.
Yeah. And interesting news of rumors.
Killed a couple more sellswords the other day. These mercs are like gnats. I can swat at them all day, but the elephants are still out and about. A fur trader came by the other day and offered me an excellent price on a pair of foxskins. Too good of a price. I walked over to the table with my back turned. He thought I was counting the skins when I was really reaching for the dagger underneath them. I turned and stuck him in the belly just as he raised his knife to my neck. Those wives of mine are getting craftier and craftier. Well, I can't be
Ich hasse das!
with Skyrim to hate his job. Alright then.
Ihr hättet mich auf dem Höhepunkt meiner Abenteurerkarriere
Boah, wie ich das hasse, wenn der diese scheiß anderen verfickten Drecks-Untermenschen Scheißdialoge auswählt.
unless you've brought some. Hopefully it's news about my wives and their untimely and incredibly gruesome deaths. Until now, what is it? About time.
Boah, wie ich das hasse. Okay, was ist hier passiert? Was ist mit dem... Oh, das ist so... Nee, ich mache einen Cut bis zur nächsten Folge. Tschüssi.